was some 2,000 years ago when the Romans occupied Stockton Heath with a large settlement. We're here today at Stockton Heath Primary School to take a look at the excavations that are actually happening as we speak. Behind me you can see the many diggers removing hundreds of tons of earth in the quest to find what was happening here in Stockton Heath during Roman times. I'm here with David Vaughan, archaeologist on site. David, can you tell me a bit more about this wonderful well we've found?
Yeah, smashing Roman well that we excavated over the last week or so. As you can see, really well stone lined. We believe, got wells elsewhere on site, but this is the one with the structure. We know that the stonework goes down further, although we can't actually dig any further for safety reasons. We know that the well itself goes to a depth of about 5 to 6 metres. We've done an auger or a core for environmental samples, and within that we've found evidence that the sand just keeps going down. Now that suggests the stonework will follow it to give it stability, and once it hits the natural, the more stiff boulder clay, then the stones obviously won't be necessary. Within that, in terms of finds, we've again the core is only a small diameter, but we've had a couple of bits of BBW, black burnished ware, so Roman pottery, 1 or 2 nails and things. Not a huge rich mix, but to be honest, if we dug into it, then we'd be more hopeful of finding artefacts. We'd like to think of some preservation of, say, leather or wood, but that's simply not feasible here. It's too dangerous.
Now David, can you tell me something about the state of preservation of this well?
Yeah, as you can see, it's remarkable really. We're fairly confident that it's been robbed though, because we're now in the well cut. The original would have stood proud of the natural which surrounds us, so the stonework has been taken. The large pit around us quite possibly is what they call a robber cut, where a subsequent society has come and taken and reused the stones, possibly still Roman. But as you can perhaps see from some of the flat stones on the top here, they're quite broken, they're not of an equal height, so there has been some robbing. Having said that, it seems to survive to quite a depth, and certainly as far as we've dug, the stonework continues down into the ground. Right,
now I believe you mentioned earlier some coring, some sampling. Can you tell me how deep that went?
Yeah, we cored to around about 5 metres below where I'm currently standing, so about 6 metres in total depth of the well. Yeah. And that's allowed us to do a number of things. We were able to look at the stratigraphy, or if you like, the makeup of the fill, and that told us that it's still mostly sand all the way down to the natural. It also gave us the opportunity to find the depth of the natural. Again, it was largely sand, but some boulder clay. And by supposition, the stonework probably supports the depth of sand to give it stability. The other main benefit is for environmental research. One of my colleagues will be studying some of the pollen that she may be able to extract from the fill core that we took, and I'll be looking at some of the beetle evidence which we also recovered, which will also give us an indication of the environment at the time the well was in use.
Okay, now obviously you haven't excavated much deeper. Is that for safety reasons?
Absolutely. I mean, where I'm stood now is fairly robust, but it wouldn't take much with a spade or a shovel to potentially cause a collapse, not necessarily of the structure, but certainly of the fill, and it's simply just too dangerous to dig on.
Right. So what are the plans for this feature now, do we know?
The jury's out on that one. As part of discussions going on around us, a nice idea, of course, would be to have it on display. That may not be logistically possible. Obviously, I don't know what the plans are in terms of the building layout, etc., or indeed the engineering possibilities, but it's certainly under discussion.
Right. Well, it's an amazing structure, and I'm sure it's a very exciting find for you. Have you found any more features within the site apart from this well?
We found other wells, but not stone-lined ones. There's one just nearby which goes to a shallower depth, but certainly into the water table. But the whole site has been a rich source of Roman finds, and of course has subsequent generations of archaeology as well, including the air raid shelters that used to stand here after or during the war. It's just been a lovely site to work, and hopefully we've got a good picture of what went on here.
So it's fair to say that we're actually stood in the middle of a small Roman community here?
There's certainly a Roman activity. I'd be cautious of the word community because we simply at this stage aren't really aware what was going on here. I think from previous recordings we've got the kilns, we've got the wells, we've got structures evidenced by timber slots in the sand, but what they were actually doing was still not 100% certain. One possibility is pottery kiln, but there isn't really enough pottery to support that. Another idea is a bread oven, but why would you need so many and on such a scale? So we're still working on that. And of course, as a footnote to that, all this has taken place on either side of the Roman road, which we knew was here, and which we've managed to reveal to some extent.
Dave, that looks a very exciting find. Can you tell me more about it?
It is, it's lovely. It's quite an unusual shaped pot, as you can see. It's locally made from the fabric, and it came from one of our deeper features on site. Probably another well, not stone lined, but certainly deep enough and wet enough to have been a well, and we went down to the bottom with that one and located this.
So the wet conditions would obviously help with preservation?
It would. With pottery it's not so essential. It's really when you're talking about organic materials like wood and leather that the wet becomes superior conditions. Having said that, it wouldn't have done it any harm. As you can see, it's survived very well, and we've kept the soil or sand in it really to keep it together until it's cleaned up and analysed properly.
And was it found in the ground in more or less one piece, although cracked, or was it scattered?
Exactly like this, really. I didn't actually find it, can't take the credit for that, but I think this piece comes away, but it's actually located together and is so obviously part of the same vessel. Sadly, nothing else from it was there either, but
nonetheless, a great find.
Absolutely, yeah.